Welcome to the Dreyer podcast, a podcast all about siblings and the people, places, and pop culture that raised us, full of knowledge, nostalgia, and nonsense. I am one of the hosts, Ryan, the other host being my little sister, Jacqueline, who we'll hear from in just a second. This week, we'll introduce two siblings who defrauded McDonald's out of millions of dollars. We'll play everybody's favorite game, which family member would you go on the amazing race with? And at the very end of the episode, we will introduce an unhinged text message from one of our family members. Oh, also, we will talk about the most outrageous McDonald's character of all time. So stay tuned for that. Let's go. Welcome to the Dreyer Drive podcast, where we talk about all things siblings and the people, places, and pop culture that raised us. And I think it's still a lorazepam requiring experience at this point.
I took one not long ago.
Well, the editing has definitely been a ball of yarn, where I'm like, I know these two are connected somewhere. There's a giant ball of mess in the middle, and we'll take it as a ball of yarn that's being stored in our dining room buffet. Throwback to last episode.
Excellent.
But it is. I pulled it on like, okay, I know we started here. I know we need to end here. And there's a lot in the middle here. But it's been fun. It's been fun. It was a very nostalgic episode because of how critical the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were for that period of my life. And the fact that it was, we played imagination games as the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. 100%. We did the raps, we did the dances, we impersonated their voices, and it still is part of like the day-to-day right now in the Porter household in this part of the world.
Oh, for sure. Same here.
Do you have anything wild and crazy that's happened over the last week?
Well, right now in our house, everything's gone crazy because our oldest daughter is graduating high school next week. And
we got the postcard.
How did you feel about it?
Noah was very excited about it when she saw the picture of Addie on the front, and she's now actually today I talked to Mom on the phone, and the first thing is, it was hilarious. Noah goes, "Do you know Auntie Jacqueline is finishing school?" And he's like, "Auntie Jacqueline is finishing school?" I'm like, "No, I think what you're trying to say is Addison." She goes, "Yeah, Addie's finishing school," because I had said that it was a card from Auntie Jacqueline. So she assumed that you were just now getting around Billy Madison style to graduating high school.
American, we grew up in the Canadian school system. Graduation in Canada, and maybe not all of Canada, but where we grew up, it was like a big deal, but not like the biggest deal.
I feel like, that's very foreign, right? Like the whole celebration of, I feel like where we were from, it was more of a relief. It was like,
we're done.
They graduated. Phew. All right, cool. Congrats.
I always tell people,
you did
Mom
it.
and Dad didn't even come to my graduation. Like, it was like not that big of a deal. It was like, my graduation's Thursday night. Mom and Dad were like, we had plans with the Ormstons. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine. Like, it didn't matter.
Gotta clean up the leaves.
Here, literally, June. They would remove your children from your care if you miss their graduation. It's insane.
Yeah, I was the first member of our family to graduate from post-secondary education. Mind you, I didn't go to the graduation, so it'd be very weird if Mom and Dad went and I wasn't there, cheering. But anyway, there's your little point in this.
Okay, so I did want to start again with a question that I've cooked up for us to answer. I want to see what your answer is. And this is specifically because this is what my family here is thinking about constantly. If you were going to run the amazing race, which member of our family would you take?
I think there's really only one option.
Okay. We can't both take that option because I think it's only one option for all of us.
Because we're running against each other? It's like...
Okay, if we were running against each other, I'll let you have first pick, and then I'm going to have to seriously think about my answer because I almost guarantee you're going to choose who I was going to choose.
You have to choose someone from the leftovers?
Yes.
Oh, that's rough. So, my clear answer, I don't even have to think about it, it's Jonathan.
Dang it.
Okay, let's go through the reasons why. All right?
Absolutely. Slam dunk.
I don't think Jonathan and I have ever been in like a fight. Like, I think maybe when he was a kid, there might have been like arguments, like he wanted to watch this and I wanted to watch that, and there might have been an argument. But Jonathan's also the type of person that when he gets angry, he also just disappears. Like
he just gets quiet.
He doesn't want. Yeah, it's the perfect person to argue with because he just kind of like goes, oh, and then leaves, right? So I think one, I don't think we've ever had a fight. Two, he speaks
okay, wait,
like
before you go on,
languages.
I have to. Sorry, go. I'll let you go on just a sec. Jonathan and I also have one fight, and that's how little we ever fought as kids. Is I can remember the one fight we did have, and it was over a pudding cup. We were probably like 8 and 5.
A snack pack?
Yes, a snack pack pudding cup. And we were fighting it over it in the hall, and we both had our hands on it, and he let go, so I fell down on the ground, and the pudding went everywhere, and Jonathan thought it was blood. So he started crying. I was like, I'm so sorry. Jacqueline. And that was our only fight. We never fought again, and Jonathan apologized profusely afterwards.
He still writes emails. I just want to apologize for the time
really bad about
that
that
I got
pudding.
Yeah. So,
okay, sorry, go on.
Same with John. Same with me. I've never been in a fight, so that's one. Two, he speaks like 29 languages, right? So you know that
literally,
anywhere,
like that's not being facetious at all. Like he truly does speak.
No, I think it's actually like I think the actual number is like 6, where he could like converse in the language and be like, you know, he knows words from like every language in, like ever, but he speaks, I think, like conversationally. Probably like 6 languages. So like, you know, anywhere in the world that you are or where you might go for the Amazing Race, he's got you covered, right? And if we're in any English speaking country or Japan, the only country where you would need to know Japanese, I can really hold my own. Outside of that, I think that like he's also rational, which I don't think
almost upsettingly rational.
Yeah, I think the rest of us are pretty irrational and emotional, right? Like we just make decisions, and we're really good at reverse engineering why that's the best decision, as opposed to Jonathan, who I think works from reason. He's a lawyer, right? So it's like you start with the reason, and then that gets you to the conclusion, where we're like, emotional conclusion, let me work my way backwards from that to why it's the best possible path.
Well, unfortunately, I would have to run the race against you two, and I'm already just going to be way back of the pack if you've got Jonathan with you, because he was also my first pick. And then I was like, oh, like, what if I could choose Ryan? And I'm like, the problem, I think, with you and I running the race together is I think we're both really intense people, and 2 intense people running the race together is a recipe for disaster. I've watched Amazing Race for 20 years. So then this is probably going to surprise you. Then the only other pick that I could go with is Daniel. And the reason I would have to choose Daniel is that one thing about Daniel is he does, like, if you know something more than him, he will like defer to that. He will argue and that kind of stuff. And if he knows something more than you, he'll argue that. But I feel like if I was like, no, like I know what we're doing here, he'd probably just be like, all right, let's go. Like, I don't think. And Daniel also doesn't care too much about anything other than like video games and sports. He's hyper competitive. So that would be helpful because Daniel doesn't lose. And I think I could like beat him into submission enough where he would follow me and do all the super active challenges that I don't want to do. Sorry, Dallin.
The other two things about the other two. Yeah, Dallin's got to go with either mom or dad, which I would pay. I would do the pay-per-view if I had to pay to watch his episodes. That's the
reality show of my dreams.
So 2 things about Dan that I think actually make him a pretty good Amazing Race partner. One is he's pretty athletic. Like,
yeah.
He's been able. He just can do any sport. Do you know what I mean? Like one of those people that just naturally can pick up a tennis racket, a squash racket, any team sport, individual. He can just do it. You know what I mean? Like he gets it, and he's really good at most of them. And the other thing is, everybody loves Dan. Like,
it's wild.
It doesn't matter where I go. I know Seiko, like when we were kind of dating, and she would come and visit, and we would like go out with Dan, and she'd be like, "How does everybody know your brother?" Like we would go and sit down at a pub for lunch, and the owner comes over and is like, hey, Dan, I'm going to come see you this weekend about a car and blah, 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 blah. And then someone else comes in and they're like, yo, Porter, what's up? Fist bump, sit down. Then like two kids, like literal, like 8-year-olds walking like, hi, Dan. And they like, she's like, how does everybody know your brother? Like, it's crazy. So I think he also like, you go to some village in some like little remote part of the world and everyone just comes out. Like I would not be surprised if someone comes out and like, hey, Dan, how can we help you win the amazing race? You'd be like, what? Really? Norway, Dan? In Norway? He'd be like, yeah.
And you're always the one just kind of standing off to the side being like,
yeah. So Dan is a very good choice. Now, Dallin, so I don't think that it's a clear, like, actually, I would say that Dallin would have been my second option.
Okay, explain.
Because I've traveled with Dallin. So Dallin
I forgot about that.
I did a summer in Central America, and Dallin came down to meet me in Guatemala. We were supposed to be in Honduras, but at the time, Honduras had a military coup. So Dallin flew down to Guatemala to spend, I think, a couple of weeks with me, backpacking around Guatemala. And one, great travel partner. Like, he's just down to do whatever. Like, you're like, how about we go here? All right, cool. We're like, all right, let's jump off this bridge. He's like, let's do it. You know, backpacks off, jumping off of a bridge. And like, he was just open and down to do whatever. Like, literally had like, no, like, oh, we shouldn't do that. It's not safe. Or like, we shouldn't go there. Or we shouldn't try that. He was just open and down for everything. So I think as an amazing race partner, we were like, Dallin, like, I think it's this. Why don't we try this? I don't necessarily think that I think he would be game for it. Like, I think he would kind of flip into that, like, all right, let's do it. Let's go that way.
Well, that's the thing. I think you actively have to choose the sibling who is less like you. Do you know what I mean? Like, Dallin and I are very similar, and I can, when we argue and fight, like, we're the same person, we get nowhere because we are speaking the exact same language. And so I have to choose Daniel because Daniel and I are so opposite ends that I feel like there's not overlap there, and we'd be better partners because of the lack of overlap.
I also think that Dan's the only one that has the sister soft spot.
Daniel.
Do you know what I mean? I think Dan's the only one who's like, it's my little sister. We're like, it's Jacqueline. He's like, it's my little sister.
And I'm going to be weirdly protective for no reason.
Yeah. So I would say Jonathan first, and then Dallin would be my second choice.
All right. I don't think I have a second choice because I don't think I would after that.
Can I take any
probably
pet?
Just wouldn't go. Probably would just call it and be like, this is not the race for me. So it's Daniel or it's nothing.
I already treat every travel opportunity like the amazing race. Like, where is it? Where's the passport? Where's the check-in? We need to get there right now. Seiko, why are you walking so slow? Like, I'm literally I'm literally driving to another town is me on the amazing race. Me going to City Hall to change my driver's license, also the amazing 100%. Race. Me getting on a flight to go to my in-laws, it's the amazing race. It's a 2-hour flight, like everything. Anytime I have to do any travel, it is the amazing race. So I'd like to say thank you to the amazing race for normalizing that behavior.
Putting that in your head.
No, it makes me seem like, everyone's already, they'll just assume I'm on the amazing race.
Oh.
Everyone back up, this guy's on the amazing race.
Just wear the little flag there. Sorry, we're running a race. Please, I need to get to the airport right now.
That's how I operate day to day.
Okay, well, with that said, are we ready to hear our sibling story of the week?
Yes, so hit me with this. For those of you who are new, coming in fresh on episode 3, the way that this works is Jacqueline introduces a historical, fictional, non-fictional group of siblings into the podcast. I have no idea who it's going to be. I haven't prepared anything in advance, although Jacqueline has taken copious amount of notes in a spiral-bound notebook that she has handwritten with no organization whatsoever.
And this notebook, because I also don't separate my notebooks, again, I research a lot for my day job, and I don't have different notebooks based on the topic, so like a page before this, it's like how to master critical conversations. And then the next page is what this is about. And it looks fully insane.
I'm glad. Have you seen this? It's a trend on LinkedIn right now where people handwrite like their like advice and then take a photo of the handwriting to put it as like 5 ways to optimize growth on social media. And it's like really nice handwriting. I think if I ever did that, first of all, like SWAT team would be at my house in minutes. They'd be like, the Zodiac Killer. We've got him, the Zodiac Killer. These... Look at this writing. This person is a psychopath murderer. Please send police to his house.
This sounds like the most LinkedIn thing that's ever happened, though. Like, of course it would be LinkedIn. Of course. Okay, so I was like, do I make Ryan guess? I don't think you'd be able to guess where I'm going to when I say it's something that's like really special to my childhood, but it remains very special to me to this day. And that's because it's the restaurant McDonald's.
Did not see that coming.
That I know you didn't see that coming. I do need everybody to understand though, like my love for McDonald's runs deep. I always say if I'm on death row and they give me my final meal, it will be a large #1 with Diet Coke. That's the Big Mac meal. And I'm not saying that. I'm not even making a joke about that. Like, it's my #1 favorite thing to eat. I get fries probably 3 times a week. Like, it's just part of my life. But I think some of my love for it is that it was a really special treat for us when we were kids. It often was like a treat after we went to the dentist or something like that. So if we had to do something unpleasant, and then our parents would get us like a Happy Meal on the way home or whatever. And so it's just like the forbidden fruit of McDonald's really just like worked its way into my heart. And to this day, McDonald's remains a giant part of my life.
So I feel like this is a pretty good point to mention that I haven't had McDonald's in 20 years. Because I also used to enjoy McDonald's for the exact same reasons that you did. And when I was living in Japan, my first time back when I was like 22, the guys at work were like, it was New Year's, and they were joking around about New Year's resolutions. They're like, Ryan, what's your resolution? You're going to give a McDonald's and Coke? Because I was like, literally, we're talking about the drink. Because like literally every day before work, I'd stop at McDonald's right in front of our office, get a Big Mac combo or a teriyaki McBurger. The Japanese
doesn't exist
burger.
Anymore.
Teriyaki McBurger. So I get one of those and a Coke, and then show up to the office. And so they made a joke one day that I couldn't give it up. And I was like, all right, cool. This is my last one ever. They're like, ha, 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 ha. And I've literally made it my last one ever. I've not gone back to McDonald's or any fast food for that matter since that day, with the exception of KFC, which I've probably had 4 times in the last 2 decades.
Okay, but there is a reason why we're talking about McDonald's. It's not just like, I would love to just talk about McDonald's all day long. Favorite birthday parties in the McDonald's basement. Anybody? Like, I do love McDonald's but I want to talk about an actual, the McDonald's scam. Have you heard about the McDonald's scammers?
No, so I haven't. I have no idea. You're not talking about the McBurglar, are you? He was based on a real character. He's based on someone real.
No, sadly, but there are a lot of McDonald's puns that will probably be made throughout this story. So hang on to your hats. Okay, so
hang on to your McDonald's birthday hat.
Hang on to your Macs, Big Macs. I say. Okay.
That is not making it in the final. I'm telling you right now, that's getting cut. That is getting cut.
I want to tell you about, I'm going to call him, he's often referred to when I was researching as Uncle Jerry. And Uncle Jerry pulled off a $24 million scam against McDonald's during the monopoly craze of the late 80s, early 90s. What can you tell me about how McDonald's monopoly worked?
Well, I remember you go to McDonald's, you buy something, you get the sticker, the little like stamps, and you're essentially trying to recreate and collect the properties from Monopoly in the form of stamps. And you also had stamps that came out that I believe were like for a free Big Mac, or if you collect 3 of these, it's a free meal or something like that. Like that's basically what I remember. I do remember going quite often to McDonald's at that point, because I think I would have been like a high school student, and that would have been like the fuel that kept me going through the week. Yeah, that's about what I remember. You go, you get some stamps, you're trying to collect, recreate the properties on the Monopoly board, and you get rewards along the way.
There were pieces that, like, you could build Park Place, Boardwalk, but there were also singular winning pieces, like you in a Dodge Viper, and you only collected that one piece. So the McDonald's Monopoly game was the brainchild of this marketing company. It's called Simon Marketing. And in 1987, they come up with this idea because McDonald's sales were low. And they were like, we really need something. I couldn't be me. But the sales were low and McDonald's came to them and were like, we need something to really drum up excitement. So they came up with this idea that they were going to marry McDonald's and Monopoly.
In 1987.
Yes, that's when it started.
This is another one. Like Ninja Turtles 1983, I think it was. Monopoly at McDonald's 1987. Like the 80s. Yeah. Look at all the wonderful things that came out of the 80s. But in my brain, Monopoly at McDonald's was like the 2000, like late 90s.
That's, yeah. I mean, we would have experienced it in the late 90s, but it had been going on. And it was kind of like a once a year, twice a year thing. They would bring it back and be like, oh, get excited. McDonald's Monopoly is happening. So it actually, the first time they ever did it, it boosted sales by 40%. So once they did it, McDonald's was like, let's just keep doing it. This is great. So they took it really, really seriously as, as a lottery, basically. And the way it worked, and the way they put these like safeguards in place so that people couldn't fake pieces or anything like that. Number one, the pieces had minor mistakes on them that could only be seen under black light. So it would say Park Place, but under black light, it would say Part Place or something like that. It's just a little bit off so that someone who was trying to create forgeries would never pick up on that. So that was number one. Number two was that they were location based. A machine would choose when they were ready to send out these pieces, the winning pieces. They would have a machine choose a place, and a truck would be sent out with those specific pieces on it to be applied to the cups or the fries or whatever in that location. The other thing was to get the pieces, they were kept in a safe. To get the pieces, it could only be unlocked by two people at the same time. There were only two people with the keys. And then the pieces went from the safe into a sealed envelope that had these special stickers over them that could not be opened. It was they were super tamper evident. So they had all these safeguards in place because they were giving out, some of the pieces would be like $1 million or cars or things like that. So these high level pieces were kept under like truly lock and key until they were ready to go out. So there's this man.
That is wild.
I know, to go through it all. I love this kind of stuff, but yeah, they took it extremely, extremely seriously because McDonald's had to also preserve public opinion. If they were found that anything was going on, like, it would be so embarrassing to them. So they devised this whole system. Truly a lottery, 100%. So Uncle Jerry, he was a man who was a retired cop from Florida, and he was hired as private security for Simon Marketing and for also the people that were making the actual stamps. And that was his job, to watch over and oversee the entire process. Well, first of all, while he's overseeing the process, he does start to realize that while this game is for US and Canada, this is going to blow your mind. Anytime Canada comes up on the machine as the location, they just run it again until it shows up as a United States location, because Canadians weren't actually eligible to win. So we were playing all that time. We had no chance of winning whatsoever.
We were all in hot pursuit of that Dodge Viper, and it wasn't even in the cards for us. We were just getting none of
the big ticket items ever went to Canada, like the singular fries and the way it worked is they would send out lots of Park Places, but there would only be one Boardwalk, right? And so everybody would think I'm collecting, but
one piece away.
Yeah, the actual odds at this point in time were 1 in 250 million to win one of the big prizes. So Uncle Jerry, he's doing his security work. He notes that Canada's not actually winning at all. And he just like kind of puts that in his head a little bit, like, okay, weird. Like, I'm supposed to be doing security and I'm noticing something wrong. He brings it up to them and they're like, don't worry about it. This is just the way we're going to do it. Soon after that, he receives a shipment in the mail. And the shipment it was sent accidentally to him, and it's full of the seals for the envelopes, the tamper evidence seals. And so Uncle Jerry's... Yeah.
Somehow it gets personally addressed to him.
They're the tamper evidence seals that McDonald's uses to go on the outside when they're shipping out, when they actually bring the pieces to the location, like by person. Yeah. And so now he has this package full of tamper evidence seals, and he realizes that he can, when it's time to take the stamps to the location, he can take them out, keep the real one, put a fake one in, or a non-winning one or whatever, seal it up with the ones that he has. He has these tamper evidence seals. He can seal it and no one knows any different. So he wants to like test out his theory that this could work. So the first thing he does is he takes it and he brings it to his brother. His brother's name is Marvin. And he shows it to Marvin.
And Jerry.
Marvin and Jerry, those two ragamuffins. So he brings it to Marvin. He's like, hey, and he starts small. He starts with a $25,000 piece. He gives it to Marvin. And
Sorry,
like,
that's small.
Okay, in the grand scheme, things go up to 1 million. So 25 was kind of like a toe in the water to see, like, am I going to get caught? How is this going to work? So he gives it to Marvin. Marvin then goes into a McDonald's. Oh, I won, everybody, I won. Cashes in, he gets $25,000. So they have proof that it works. And Jerry now realizes he can do this as many times as he has tamper evidence seals for, because it doesn't matter anymore. He was actually one of the people who was in charge of bringing the stamps to the location, and they would put them in a briefcase in these envelopes and physically fly them to wherever they were supposed to go and then put them into the cups and whatever. And
So I'm imagining someone walking through an airport, briefcase, handcuffed briefcase that you just can't remove. Yeah. Filled with
and he actually traveled
Monopoly
with a
stamps.
woman. Yeah, he actually traveled with a woman who was, because you couldn't just do it with one person, but he would take the briefcase into the bathroom with him. He'd say, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom. And he would change out the envelope stickers in the bathroom and then bring them out. So she had no idea. So he's starting to do this. On one of these trips, he happens to sit next to a guy who also is named Jerry. I'm going to call him Columbo because I don't want to say Jerry the rest of the time. Now, Jerry Columbo is actually a member of the Columbo crime family. He is literally a mobster. And in their conversation, Uncle Jerry and Columbo are talking, and Uncle Jerry tells him, I think after he realized he's in a crime family, he's like, oh, I got this really good thing going on. And Columbo's like, why are you just giving these pieces away? We can get people to pay for these pieces and you'd make crazy money. We'd all make crazy money. I'm going to be your partner. He like forces him to this partnership where Columbo is now a mafia boss, and he's going to start recruiting people to win the tickets, and they're going to have them pay. So for instance, someone would pay $50,000 to get $1 million piece, and Jerry and Columbo then split the $50,000 between them. So that's the scam. That's how it's gonna work. The problem with Uncle Jerry, I feel, is that he doesn't know how to do this outside of his family. Every person he's giving money to are literally members of the family. It's a brother-in-law. It's Marvin. It's his butcher. It's like he keeps it so close to the family. And Columbo's like, I mean, he's done this before. He's run stuff like this before. He's like, you cannot just like be giving this out to people you know. They're gonna know. Like the butcher like makes a big deal and gets in the newspaper about how he wins $10,000. They're like, no, you can't tell anybody that you're winning this money. But it's very much family related. They're giving it all, and all of his family members are basically becoming millionaires. He gives Marvin 3 more pieces, one of which is $1 million piece. And we'll revisit what happens with that later. Sorry. But he's giving out these pieces and he's making crazy money because they're paying for it. So what happens? Jerry Columbo dies in this car accident. So his mob tie is kind of broken, but he's still Uncle Jerry has these mob connections now. He's just like some old retired cop, and all of a sudden he's got like mob connections and things start to get a little weird. So he lost his...
I love that's when things start to get a little bit weird. This guy has got ties in the mail, these seals. He's now stealing Monopoly points, giving them to his family. He sits beside a mobster on a plane, gets connection to the mob. He's making money, like fist over fist money. And this is where things get weird. Tell me about what gets weird.
I was with him until that moment, but it's a bridge too far. I cannot follow you there, Uncle Jerry. Sorry. So Uncle Jerry recruits Marv to go on a cruise with him. Them and their wives they all have the money, so they go on this cruise. And when they're on the cruise, Marvin later claims that he doesn't know what's really going on. But the fact that they went on this cruise together, and while they're there, they, guess what, recruit another person while they're on this. So they meet this man named Don Hart. Don Hart hears about their whole operation. He's like, I want in. And so they come up with this new idea because they kind of exhausted all the family members that they have to give out these pieces. And they know they can't keep giving, like, one family claims $3 million and a Dodge Viper. And they're like, okay, we need to stop now. Like, the jig is going to be
scale this back.
like it's so obvious that it's all linking back to Uncle Jerry. So their new plan is that Don is going to be the recruiter. He's going to recruit farther out members of family. Like, they still want to keep it in the family, but it's going to be like the brother-in-law of a cousin is going to get this money. And not only that, they start to, like, the operation starts to get really complicated because that person now needs to set up an apartment in a new location, so they don't even live in the same town as them. Their last name has to change, or they only choose people that have different last names. So this guy, Don Hart, is kind of coaching them how to do all these things to try and make sure that no one ever knows that this is all coming from Marvin and Uncle Jerry.
So Don Hart, he's obviously a seasoned professional. He's done something like this in the past. If he has all of these techniques, he's like, no, let me show you how to do this. All right, so he's got a little bit more tact than Columbo. Again,
Uncle Jerry's not like a seasoned criminal. He has never done anything like this before in his life. He says it was just like a crime of convenience. Like, of course I was going to do this. I had the seals. What am I supposed to do with them? And
you could have returned
ethics,
them.
etc.
Yeah, you could have returned them and be like, hey, these got sent to me by mistake. He's like, I've got them now. I have to steal millions of dollars.
Here's the other thing that's going on, too. At the time, public sentiment towards McDonald's and this Monopoly game is, like, turning rapidly. People are getting frustrated because no one is actually winning the game. The only people who are actually winning the game are the people who are Uncle Jerry or hand selecting, and so these people, some guy in like North Dakota does not have any chances of winning, and they're buying all these hamburgers. Like, people went crazy in the late 90s. Monopoly was big, so they're spending all this money and realizing no one's winning anything except for whoever Uncle Jerry is choosing. He's got the pieces, so it's almost like McDonald's has to hand over whatever, even if they're suspicious, and they are getting suspicious, they hand it over because it looks so bad if they don't. Like, if they're not handing it out to someone, they're handing it out to nobody's winning, period. So they have to keep up kind of appearances and be like, yep, he won. We're so happy for him.
I want to see the pictures of all the people that won. And I would love to be in like the FBI room. I'm not sure if this is where it's going, but I'd love to be in the FBI room where they're like connecting all of the threads to people. And you just start like, it's all family members. Like, you might as well have just gotten some kind of like family tree, and it's literally every single person.
Okay, well, you could not be in more luck because I'm going to tell you what's happening. In the year 2000, an anonymous tip comes into the FBI. Exactly. Perfect. I was hoping that would happen. An anonymous tip comes into the FBI that this guy's running this scam. And at first the FBI is like, okay, but who cares? It's McDonald's. Like, and then when they like look into it, this one guy is like really interested in trying to figure out what's going on. So
because he wasn't winning at all. That's why. This is one guy in the FBI who's like, I've bought 168 Big Macs in the last 30 days, and all I've got is 2 free fries and a McFrosty or whatever that thing.
He looks up at his board, and it's just like 3 of the Park Place. He's like,
stacked up. It's just 168 of the same thing. And he's like, you know what? No, this is my time to shine. I'm going all in. And this is a passion project. This is now a personal passion project.
Okay. So he gets the tip that comes in. And so they decide that they're going to see what's happening. They set up a sting operation. So what they do is they recruit one of the marketing managers from McDonald's who's in charge of this. Her name's Amy. And they say, Amy, when someone wins, we're going to let them win. We're not going to stop that from happening. But when someone wins, you're going to go to their house and pretend that you're interviewing them for being a winner. Like, you just won a Dodge Viper. How do you feel? And the person is then going to say, that they A, earned it, and B, they'll give details like, I was at such and such location when I peeled this off my Diet Coke or whatever. So they're giving valuable information to these people. And so as she's doing this, they start putting it together.
I wish I could see the video of like Amy going up to the house and she parks in front. It's this giant mansion. There's 4 Dodge Vipers in the driveway. And you're like, how do you feel?
And there's a butler standing there with a tray of Big Macs.
Dressed as Grimace. You are really into this.
I'm interested that you went to Grimace and not Ronald McDonald, but okay.
That's because the guy is Ronald. The main guy. The guy you're interviewing is Ronald McDonald.
So they're doing this sting operation. It's going very well. They're interviewing legitimate winners, and now they're starting to piece it back that this guy is actually related to this guy who is the sister-in-law of Uncle Jerry. And this person is the cousin of every person links back to Uncle Jerry no matter where they are or where they're from. So he hasn't done a great job of hiding his tracks.
And this is pre-Netflix era, obviously, where you don't know how to be a great criminal. Like, Netflix has done a great job of just teaching people how to be incredible criminals. So this guy's literally just, like, going through his, like, family. He looks at the roster of the last family reunion, and he's just, like, putting check marks beside their names as he's going down the list and recruiting more family members.
So late 2000, the FBI is kind of running out of time because McDonald's is like, we're either going to phase out what we're doing or we're going to do it in a different way so that this can't be happening again. So the FBI is like, just give us one more big push. So McDonald's does it. They give them one more McDonald's Monopoly. And this time they print 2 $1 million prizes. Who has the $2 million prizes? Uncle Jerry. Almost immediately as they're printed, takes them, pockets them, and then he starts going around. I've got 2 $1 million pieces, highest bidder, what can I get for them? And so now they're watching him commit the crime and both times. And it's crazy because even in the very last pieces, he's giving them to family members. It's like a friend of a family member, friend, cousin, something. They're all related. And so he is arrested after he gives out the second piece. And on August 22nd, 2001, the FBI makes 8 arrests on this whole thing of people who, obviously Uncle Jerry, Marvin, and then people who were either recruiting or people who accepted the money under the false pretenses.
For the movie producers that are surely listening to this podcast, when you make the movie about this episode or about Uncle Jerry, this scene needs to take place at a family reunion in Miami where everybody's pulling up in a Dodge Viper or a brand new truck, pulling a Sea-Doo that's branded with McDonald's. They're all getting on a yacht that's filled with McDonald's. Like their license plates are like Park Place, but the A is an 8, and everyone's just, it's so connected and it's so obvious. And that's where I want the arrest to take place. They were arresting people.
I want my license plate to just say Nugs. I feel like that would be cool. Nugs with a Z. Okay, this is gonna blow your mind though. This movie has been optioned, and guess who it's been optioned by?
Who?
Ben Affleck and Matt Damon.
Hey, this is really
100%.
Oh, okay. I cannot wait.
I mean, a lot of this has been taken from a documentary that I watched, plus a few, it was a Daily Beast article that I was piecing this together. The documentary, if you want to watch, is called McMillions. But it is optioned. They are currently developing it right now. And actually, Matt Damon is set to play the FBI agent who is doing all of the sting operations.
I cannot wait. This is incredible. I love these types of stories.
I love a scammer that only hurts corporations, not me. Like, I'm okay with that.
More specific. I really like fast food oriented crime thrillers.
Like, this is my dream crime, I have to say. This is exactly the crime that I would commit if I was going to commit a crime.
It's my niche, or my niche, for those American listeners out there.
Okay, so by the end of the sting operation, when they start making arrests, 50 defendants go to court over this case. During the case, it comes out that Uncle Jerry has taken $24 million over the course of taking 66 pieces. He is ordered to pay
How many?
12.5.
How many? Sorry, how many pieces?
60 pieces.
We're talking, they're the high ticket ones. So it starts $25,000 on the lower end of the scale is $25,000. And then it's like Dodge Viper, Dodge Viper, Dodge Viper, Dream Vacation, house, job, like Dream Vacation, house, $1 million, $1 million, $1 million, $1 million, $1 million, and it's just family members.
It's only people related to him. So he is ordered to pay $12.5 million in restitution, and he is ordered to spend 37 months in prison.
That's it?
Yeah, I was pretty shocked about how short his prison term was, but turns out people really hate McDonald's, so the judge doesn't actually care that they stole all this money from McDonald's. They're like, okay.
It also didn't help that the prime witnesses were Mayor McCheese and Birdie the early bird.
No, during
to call another witness to the
funniest
stand,
thing
Ronald
was, like,
McDonald gets...
when they were giving like testimony or cross-examining. When they were they would say stuff like, these people thought they were entering a lottery when all they were getting was high cholesterol, and like it was kind of a circus as far as so I don't think that at the end they were like, okay, whatever, 37 months, run along. They did a lot of things like, and now he's gonna grill them, and it was like, okay, really funny.
It was just actually the scripts or the arguments were being written by SNL writers. They're like, this is gonna be good, and we can use this in the weekend updates. They were just like feeding it. This is now 2 separate movies. It's a movie about this scammer in the McDonald's Monopoly heist, but then also how SNL writers embedded themselves into the case so that they could have better content for their weekend updates and for skits.
In my head, the court scene is just SNL. Like, there's no way that this court was anything but a joke. They kept on calling it the McSting. Like, they were like, he's gonna get grilled over the McSting. Yeah, they were.
And you're gonna grimace when you hear this. Like, okay. I'm actually, so while we're doing this, I actually opened up the mcdonalds.fandom.com wiki page to look at some of the characters, because I wanted to be able to throw in a Mayor McCheese reference, really. And like, there are so many McDonald's characters that I had no idea were a thing. Like, there was a character called Griddler.
The Griddler?
The Griddler. Ooh. Yes, we're talking like, there was like Hamburglar, there was Hamburger Patch, the Yum Chums. I Am Hungry. I Am is the first name, Hungry is the last name.
Oh, I was like, are you telling me you're hungry?
This is my favorite one. I'll stop it here because there are many others, so you guys definitely, like, people need to go and check this out. Headless Egg McMuffin Horseman.
When I'm eating, I don't want to think about a headless horse at any point in time. I know it's the headless horse that was headless.
It was the Egg McMuffin that was riding the horse was missing a head. Let's get this really straight.
Okay, but was the head he was missing like made up of a sausage patty?
Let's click on the image.
Because there's no way it was a pumpkin.
No. It looks like a... Yeah, okay, so this makes sense. The picture is actually just a man with I'm assuming it's a man, with a pumpkin head on the back of a horse that looks like an alpaca. Best part is, I just want to highlight the highlights of the article, okay? There's 4 sections to the article. Origins, early life, downfall, conclusion. I want to find the person that went in and edited this, like a Wikipedia article, that like really took it really seriously and took that format from a Wikipedia, like typical, like, you know, evil character or some character in history. They took that formula and that that layout of origins, early life, downfall, and conclusion.
I want to be in the room when they pitch these things.
So, that's 2 final things. 1, the entire thing is maybe 250 words. I'm talking the entire, like, the contents, the table of contents is literally like half the word count. But I want to just read the downfall, the first sentence of the downfall.
Please do.
After his appearances in the fall of 1998, the headless Egg McMuffin horseman does not appear again.
That was his downfall?
That's all you get. His downfall is that he doesn't appear again ever after a few commercials in 98.
I gotta say, it doesn't sound like it was his fault, so...
No, it's not really his downfall. Yeah, anyway. But
I don't know, I think about being in those pitch meetings, and I'm in pitch meetings a lot, or meetings where people are like, let's just workshop this, and I always have to be the person who's like, I love the instinct. I love it. But, like, what if it wasn't this? Because this is a terrible idea. Like, and there was no one there. The 90s were a crazy time for advertising. No one was there to stop them.
So I know we're getting into this, is probably making this way too long, but I do want to read the rest of the downfall because it's 2 more sentences. I know I said I was only going to read one, but I just read the other 2, and I think it's worth mentioning. For those who are really, just to save you the task of going to this yourself, I will read the
Good call.
2 sentences. So, as it has been 20 years, so I'm guessing this was written in 2018. As it has been 20 years since this time, he was declared dead in 2018. However, It is also possible that he was involved in a witness protection program for reasons unknown to the public.
Wait, is he Uncle Jerry? Did we?
He might be related to the case. This is why I brought this up. I think that he may have been involved. He might have been a star witness. It says in the fall of 98, he may have been the one that tipped this all off.
Was he the informant?
And is now in witness protection. I think the Headless Egg McMuffin Horseman is a code name for somebody involved in this case. We just connected the dots. This is crazy. We need another episode. This is now a true crime podcast.
I was going to say, do we need to start a true crime podcast where we solve crimes? But only
McDonald's
these kind of crimes. McDonald's-based crimes only. Like, who stole my French fries? Why is my large not filled up to the top? Like, those kinds of crimes that are, like, hate crimes towards me personally, I would like to solve those.
We look into it and we stage the Sting, like a What Would You Do video series, you know, like the What Would You Do, bunch of actors, but only one person isn't in on it.
Okay, so we do need to find out what happened to, we know what happened to Jerry. He goes to jail for 37 months, has to pay 12.5 in restitution. We've still got Marvin to deal with. Marvin, this is probably the most mind-blowing thing. So Marvin's his brother. Marvin directly benefited from this. Marvin tells them that he only ever cashed the $25,000 piece. He's like, after that, I was out. He said, in fact, when he gave me the next $1 million piece, I flushed it down the toilet and told him, like, I will no longer be part of your scheme. And that's what he says on the stand. So not only that, the prosecutor then testifies that Marvin was, and his exact words was substantial assistance to the case against Uncle Jerry. So when push comes to shove, Marvin sells him out like you would not believe.
Whoa!
In fact, Marvin and the DA are actually best friends to this day, and I'm not kidding. So for his part, Marvin ends up paying $625,000 in restitution, no jail time, 3 years probation.
No!
While his brother goes off to jail. So from that time, they're both out of jail. Well, Uncle Jerry's out of jail. Marvin never went to jail. They have not spoken since the day of sentencing. I'm Team Marvin all the way on this one.
How? Marvin took it. I don't care if it's the $25,000 or $1 million. He took it.
Okay, I'm just saying
directly.
If you cause a crime, do a crime, commit a crime. There it is. If you commit a crime,
let's go with that verb.
And I'm implicated, I'm telling you right now, Ryan, I will sing like a canary if the police come to me. I will not hold back. I will tell them everything you've ever done. Like, not even about the case. I will start in 1982 and go from there. So just do not implicate me in a crime. I am a Marvin.
And that's why you are not my Amazing Race partner. Because on The Amazing Race, we will be committing crimes. So that's why I'm going with a lawyer. Yeah, and that's why I'm going with a lawyer or Dallin, who's just down for anything.
That's why I'm taking Daniel, who will take the fall for anything, because no one would ever believe that I was the perpetrator. Like,
because Daniel is a seasoned criminal.
Truly, Daniel gives Daniel gives Columbo energy, where when I was a kid, I legitimately thought he was part of the mafia. Like, I thought he ran like a small high school mafia. Anyway, end of the story. Marvin and Uncle Jerry never speak again. McDonald's is sued. They're sued by the marketing company for $10 million, which they are awarded that $10 million. And changed the way that they've done Monopoly. They still do Monopoly, but they had to change it completely. Like, they do it, they do like instant prizes now. They even tried doing something called like the prize patrol, where like the actual people giving you the prize were going to be in the McDonald's location, so that they could like cut out the security middleman or whatever. So the whole face of the Monopoly game changed, and it's all thanks to Uncle Jerry and Marvin.
I imagine the end credits of the movie, like, I don't know if you've ever watched like Band of Brothers or The Pacific, where it shows like the real guys from the story, and they're like in their 90s, and they're like, I remember when me and Anderson were going on the raids, and we thought it was over, and we forged a friendship that has lasted our entire lives. I imagine that at the end of this movie, the credits are rolling, and it's like Marv and the DA, and they're like, we remember the first happening.
I'd do it all over again if I could just meet you.
And I want it to end with them, when you get to the bottom of your McDonald's or any drink, when you're drinking through a straw and it makes that like I want that to be the very end. And we're like, and I remember those days. And then the movie's over. This brings us to the almost end of this podcast. And like we've established a pattern in the first 2 episodes, we go to a family member message, or a message from a family member, and we talk about the message that one of us has received. And before we started today, I believe you said that you had one that you wanted to share with me and the millions of listeners.
Oh, yeah, I've definitely got it. So, backstory to this message is that the house on Dreyer Drive was sold 5 years ago by our parents, and the people who bought it just sold it again. So, the family chat was on fire because we were all just talking about these people selling the house for way more than they bought it for, A, and B, they gutted it completely. So, of course, we're all looking up the realtor.ca pictures to see what it looks like now. It looks nothing like the house we grew up in, which put me in a bad mood for several days. So we were talking about it, and of course I'm like, I hate what they've done with the place. They have terrible taste. And we were kind of just got talking. This is on the family thread. We have a sibling thread where it's just the 5 of us, and we were talking about all the things that were done. And you said, it's wild that we all live there legitimately. Daniel said, it wasn't computing in my brain either. That is my exact thought. You said, the house that we're renting has a single toilet and it causes breakdowns in relationships daily. There are 3 humans here. How did we do it with 7? How are we not in diapers all the time, or we're just crapping our pants regularly? Dallin, our youngest brother, then says, I actually was. And you said, which one? And then Dallin, and here's the unhinged message of the week, Dallin says, well, technically pooping in a diaper is still crapping in your pants, so both.
Yeah, so with that being said, that brings us to the final of episode 3. Anything that you want to say before we peace out of this one?
I'm saying that I'm going to DoorDash McDonald's to my house, like, right now, so that's what's next for me. It is 10:38 p.m.
Oh my gosh, you need to put your life under some type of... hold on. You need to reevaluate... Hold on. You need to reevaluate your life, is what I was trying to say.
Hey, here's the thing. I have evaluated my life, and this is right. This is right for me. This is where I want to be.
All right. Well, this was actually fun. I enjoyed that one a lot. I cannot wait to watch it.